Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
And I'm Jeff Miller of CME Computer and IT Solutions.
Oh, you changed it. I didn't know. At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 5 a.m. on Saturday in Germany. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thanks so much for being here. Jeff kind of gave it away, but he does have an announcement. Why don't you do that now?
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Scott. We missed you last week.
Okay, well, just a little bit of news. Normally I talk about cybersecurity here, but I bought the company that I've been working for over 10 years, and it's now called CME Computer and IT Solutions. So
Right on.
Just wanted to let you guys know.
Things will be changing for us. We don't know all the ways yet, but we will find out. All right, so tonight's episode is another observation deck. We're going to delve into the International Space Station. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. There's a link to that book in the description. To Deorbit or Not To Deorbit. Tonight we will discuss the International Space Station, or ISS. How did it come to be? How was it built? What did it accomplish? What is still in the wings for it? When and how will it be decommissioned? And most importantly, what will come next? Okay, Jeff, Can you cover all that tonight?
Maybe.
Okay. Oh, I see some comments.
Yeah,
you doing that first?
Hey, Scott. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Hi, Don.
Hey, Don.
And Naomi. Yeah, thank you, Naomi.
Oh, welcome back, Naomi.
And Janie. She says, hey, guys, last Friday of March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simi Valley.
Yeah. Although I don't actually say Simi Valley, because that way people who aren't from the area, since we can remote basically anywhere in the world, it just is a nonsense word like a lot of companies have in their names. But if you're from this area, you know that it refers to Simi Valley. Cool.
Okay. Am I sharing screen for you yet?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Okay. So, the typical, we look at International Space Station, we look at the wiki, but there's a lot of wiki here, and we've got a lot of things to cover. One of the things that they do have on here is the conception of the ISS, and it's, the space shuttle and the Soyuz kind of got really friendly and loved each other very much.
What? I did not think that's what happened. Oh, hey, Cliff is here. Yeah, I saw the pictures. My goodness. Yeah, it's very wet in Queensland. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, stay safe out there.
So, and just go to internet, ISS wiki or wiki ISS, however you go, because it has a lot of good information here. But
I have a book around somewhere that talks about some of that stuff, and it delves into some of the kind of more political issues that they had. So,
well, yeah, in fact, they were going to have Skylab with a Russian vehicle basically merged together as an International Space Station, just two units. But then the Cold War started to get a little bit more vigorous, and budget cuts and stuff like that. So that was shelved for a long time.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of economics in it. Like the United States just didn't have anything, but there was this thing sitting there in Russia, all kind of ready to go. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was completely ready, but it was a lot closer than anything the United States could produce.
And we didn't have any good-sized rockets for that.
Okay.
And so we developed the space shuttle partially to do this, and partially just to have a vehicle. But its main job at the beginning was to build the ISS. That was its reason, the reason given for it.
Got it. So what does the wiki talk about? Does it say what?
It basically goes into the early history. Space race drew to a close in the 70s. And, they did an Apollo Soyuz test project. We actually docked, so that we could show that we could dock.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then they were going to basically launch a Skylab and um, merge it with a well, originally it was just going to be Skylab, and both Apollo and Soyuz crews would visit it.
Okay.
But then the more ambitious Skylab Salyut Space Laboratory was proposed, which was basically still launch the Skylab, but put a launch a Soviet space station with it and have them dock.
Nice.
And that way it would be both groups doing it, but
didn't quite go that way, did it?
No, falling budgets, rising Cold War tensions in the late 70s. Basically, yeah, it just got sidelined. And then came along with another plan to have the space shuttle dock with a Soyuz space station. So we went from everyone docking with a Skylab to having both, to everyone docking with a Russian, space station. So, in the early 80s, planned to launch a modular station called Freedom as a counterpart to Soyuz and the Mir space stations. And then in 1984, the ESA was invited to participate in Space Station Freedom, and the ESA approved the Columbus Laboratory. So basically, we got the ESA involved, and then the Japanese...
ESA being European Space Agency.
And the Japanese involved. And so it just basically became a big...
International. Whether 14 countries, something like that?
Yeah. In fact, I have something that talks about that.
Oh, cool. Good.
So simultaneously, Russia was conducting plans for the Mir 2 space station, and began constructing modules for the new station. However, Soviet Union went bye-bye.
Oh, right.
And they were very greatly downskilled, and basically it was in danger of not being launched at all. And so...
Is the famous Mir 2 or the first one?
It's the Mir 1.
Mir 1, okay.
It's called Mir only because there wasn't ever a Mir 2.
Right.
Just
Mir
plans
means,
for one.
Mir is peace in Russian.
But both space station projects were in jeopardy at the time. And so we, Americans and Russians got together and said, hey, let's each fund half of it.
I really love it when, there can be that kind of international cooperation. And
yeah. And it was meant to be a laboratory, observatory, and factory. Well, we haven't really factoried it much.
Yeah, they don't emphasize that much, but they do a lot of experiments of, what happens in microgravity, seeds that are sprouting, and
right, yeah,
what kind of things with the soil or not soil,
And we haven't done much observatory, although there are some observatory units on there. But mostly it's been laboratory.
Ah, okay.
Mostly because every time you move the station, every time people move around, it creates vibrations. So
jitter.
You get a telescope on there, and it's the images all over the place. So
yes. Well, of course, in the beginning that would have been a big issue, but now we've got software that'll correct for
but
image.
There'll always be some lost data.
Okay.
Doing that. I mean, I remember, they don't talk about it here, but one of the things that I remember them talking about is having just tethered, free floating observatories. So you have a loose tether. It's loose enough that any vibrations won't actually go through the tether.
That makes sense, but they have to get there, right? Is that a spacewalk?
Yeah, it's a spacewalk.
Okay.
But once you set it, you can forget it, except for one minor thing.
Yes.
The station is low enough that the Earth's atmosphere, there's still a little bit there, and it slows the station down. There's just a little bit of drag.
Okay.
So occasionally you have to boost the station up.
Yep.
Now if you have 3 or 4 pieces tied to it with a tether, and you boost the station up, you either have to boost each piece up. You either have to reel them in and hard fasten them to it.
Okay.
Boost it up, then let them loose again. Or you have to boost them all simultaneously, or they just, slamming to each other underneath the station as you're boosted it up.
And it
So
wouldn't just be like walking your dog. It wouldn't.
no,
Cliff says just pushing off the wall moves the station.
Yeah.
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 Well, and I know the sun can do things
right.
too.
The solar wind pushes it,
Yeah.
but mostly the way the sun affects the station is it heats the upper atmosphere and makes the upper atmosphere go higher. And so it's denser and causes more drag.
Okay, I see.
So
interesting.
So they're continuously having to boost it.
Yeah.
And why don't they put it higher? Well, because it's harder to get things to it if it's higher. Space shuttle wouldn't have been able to do it, at least not well, because, yes, could the space station reach the Hubble? Yes. However, to build the space station, it had to be, they had to be carrying a bunch of stuff. And also, just for safety purposes, they like to have extra fuel. If you have to go higher up, you're burning your safety margin.
Cliff says drag is the worst force.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a drag.
That's a drag. Drag is a drag.
Yeah. So that kind of left scientific research and
back to your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just scientific research. And again, they have a list of the research, and that might be an interesting show just in and of itself. Because this is not an exhaustive list of what they did.
Okay.
So that could be a good show for just what all, basically list everything that we did. So.
Well, there's been thousands of experiments, haven't there been?
Oh yes.
So maybe what the thing to do would be to maybe best and worst or most interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
Some kind of curated list.
Yeah. If we can find a list of all of them, that'll be interesting. And if we're not going to read off the list, but we can at least put a link to it and then talk about the things that we, that we thought were the standouts from there.
Cool.
But
okay.
And I know you found a video.
Oh, you ready for that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so let me set that up and okay. This new setup is not my favorite thing here. Now will it go? I don't know what's going on. Do you?
No.
Do I have to remove yours first?
Maybe. Let me just try to.
I don't want to remove it.
Before presenting a screen, remove other media. Oh. Okay, so you have to remove it.
They changed it for. Oh, well, now look what happened.
Oh, we both hit it.
Oh, I see.
There you go.
It's live when. All right, so I actually had a conversation with Don, and he mentioned, you can get a tour.
Which Don? Because we've got a Don.
Don Dowdy, my ex-fiance, and he's like, you could get a tour of the space station. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah. So we watched this the other day, and there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. However, I really thought this end bit was kind of the most interesting. It's kind of long. It's like half hour. But let's just play you a few minutes of this part.
Yeah, and then when you're done, put a link to that in the description.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and push the button here. And of course, Sunny talks, and it's very pleasant to listen to her and watch the hair.
Right here, this big thing. This helps us connect to the spacecraft. This probe actually sticks into this cone.
But it's in the door.
Yeah.
You have to maneuver around it. And listen to what she says to the camera guy.
And that's how the spacecraft, our Soyuz becomes connected to the ISS initially. That is then replaced by clamps, which are around here, that will allow the two spacecraft to be stuck together. And then you can remove the probe and the cone.
So this is the Soyuz that will take them home, and this is 8 years ago. So it's not the recent trip.
All right, so here we are in the Soyuz. This is what we call the BEO, the living compartment, Bitaboy Otsek in Russian. It also has a little bathroom. It's not as good as the other bathrooms, so we try not to use it too much. It has drinking water in it if we need something to drink. And then, of course, it's filled up with a lot of cargo for us.
A lot.
Bringing up, and also also bringing back down. It has a second purpose when it comes back to Earth. It serves as a garbage container. During the descent, we'll get rid of this area right here, and everything that's in it will just burn up as it's coming into the atmosphere. So that way we can get rid of a little bit of trash. But the main area where we were on launch and where we're going to be on descent is down here because we're not part of the trash. So we're in a safe place. So we're in the descent module, SI. It's a little small, but you can get in.
A little.
Not sure how well you could see in here. Hold on for a second. I'm going to turn it up this way, just so you could see the hatch and you could see Kevin.
That's the cameraman.
Yeah.
It's a little bit small, but we'll come in and show you around. You coming in? Okay.
I just found this astonishing how tight everything is.
Got to move a couple things. We were just starting to get ready. We're preparing a couple days ago for our ride home. It's a little bit squishy, but everybody asks, how do you sit in the Soyuz?
A little bit
And you sort
squishy.
of sit in your seat like this. The seat is molded to your body, and so you can just sort of squish in here and be pretty relaxed. Everybody has a handmade seat for them. And then, of course, there's a control panel, and that's where we do most of our actions and work right here. There's hand controllers, which you can fly the vehicle with, and there's a stick right here, primarily used for communication.
I think that was most of what I wanted to demonstrate.
Yep, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and bring it back to us. I'll grab this.
Yeah.
I'll grab this link for.
Well, I'm just kind of that stick, which looks like a joystick, is for communication. What do they do? Send Morse code by whacking it against the front of the container?
I don't know. It's Russian, so all right. So there's a link to that video. I definitely think it's worth watching. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, and she has a very nice presentation style. I really enjoyed that. Now we got a bunch of comments too,
Yeah,
so we should go back to them. But
yeah.
just
Cliff
the
said
squish,
that is
like
pretty
oh my
cramped.
goodness, yes.
Yeah. Janie says no room for NFL astronauts.
No.
Reminds me of submarine movement. Now, one of the interesting things about it,
Yes.
because she starts off in the U.S. European section, and very wide. There's stuff strapped to the walls, but it's, there's a lot of elbow room in it, and a lot of flat panels and stuff like that, and it's fairly quiet. You get into the Russian section, and you heard that air, the air movement, very audible air movement. That sound begins when you get in there. In the Russian section, and it's very cramped everywhere. You basically are going down a tube of.
And it's remarkable how much they can use the whole space. It's like if you had wherever you live, everything on the walls, the ceiling, and the floors, and you kind of just floated in the middle of it. It's a really cool video. And I've never seen a tour of the space station before like that. So yeah. Yep, I know it makes Dragon look positively roomy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the shuttle's in museums now.
Yeah. I don't think I'd take a shuttle because
no, too good of odds of blowing up.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
So you've got more.
Yes.
More tabs to. Okay, let's see.
So remove that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Add that to.
Gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah. Because we used to be able to.
Yeah, I just flip between, but now it's a little different.
So, list of human space flights to the International Space Station. Again, another wiki page. And there's not much to say here. I mean, I could rattle off a bunch of names and stuff like that. But, first, they had the shuttles, the Soyuzes.
Those are all links, though. The blue. So if you wanted to delve into anybody in particular or any.
That's the nice thing about the wiki.
Yeah.
Is that you can, you can deep dive into stuff on here.
You can spend as much time in that rabbit hole as you would like.
Yeah. So, a lot of shuttle missions, then we get a bunch of Soyuz as we've stopped using the shuttles quite so much. And then eventually we get, yeah, okay, yeah. Eventually we get to other stuff, but this is the list. Just do list of human space flights. Wiki's list of human space flights. You'll find it.
And Cliff made the comment. Yeah, we have heard that it's a lot like a locker room, smelly, sweaty.
Yeah,
it's an industrial zone.
Yeah,
essentially,
because
it's not.
You can't keep it clean. I mean, even in the Westerns, the European section, American European section, there, yes, there are flat walls, but there's always gaps between stuff. There's stuff behind the walls. So any moisture gets in there and any fungus, mold or stuff. And, yes, they clean everyone before they go up, but there's no way to be 100%. So,
yeah. And I mean, like, even if there were any kind of emergency, they just have to leave. They can't even disconnect them because all those tubes, almost every single one of the hatches have some kind of connecting. Well, I'm sure it's some kind of umbilical, really, to carry all the things that
electrical,
and water, maybe. I don't even. That'd be an interesting thing to delve into too.
Yeah. So we have again another wiki list, a list of the visitors, and just kind of interesting. U.S. had 55, Russia 44, Japan had a bunch, Germany had a few. And then Belgium, Netherlands, UK, Spain, and United Arab Emirates all sent someone. And here they go, visitors by nationality. How many flights? Different individuals. And they break it down. 30 of these individuals were women. 7 were tourists. 56 did double flights, 26 did triple flights, 5 quadruple flights, and 1 quintuple flyer.
Wow.
And then Russia had
what? Just can't get the cockroaches?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they would have brought any of that with. Huh?
No, well, hopefully not. But the one good thing about cockroaches is that they would crawl into the corners and eat stuff that is actually bad for us. But, so that would be, you would have to kind of get an ecosystem going that would eat the mold and stuff. Because, I mean, what are your other choices? You spray stuff that's more hazardous to the people than the mold itself.
Yeah.
So
you got to weigh all the options all the time.
Yeah, because there's no way to give it a good scrub down. I mean, the way we control mold here is that you give the walls a scrub down. It doesn't get 100% of the mold, but it knocks it back. With all the nooks and crannies in the space station, they'd have to design it for cleaning, which would mean that all of the ducts, air ducts, electrical ducts, would have to be basically behind hard surfaces that are either, completely sealed and very hard to get at or can't get at all. Which would be bad, Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, Janie's got a good comment. Thieves spray is effective for mold. I haven't tried it in space yet.
Yeah.
We may talk to you about that later.
Yeah. Yeah, because remember, anything that you spray ends up outgassing into the air. So as long as if you can find something that kills the mold but isn't toxic to humans, that'd be.
Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so.
Let me share
this, and I'm going to.
That's a great graphic.
Yeah, I'm going to share this because this has all of the bits and parts, and then they list
kind of
them.
Blown up, right?
Yeah, and then they list them. And then they have a bunch of other space station facts. So.
Oh, Scott has a good idea. Maybe something less disgusting than cockroaches, like a silverfish.
Yeah, anything, and then here's the question. Let me just get that out for you guys. Like dust mites. I'll just go for an example. Dust mites aren't hazardous. They're just part of everything. The trouble is, and even dust mite waste isn't hazardous. The trouble is that dust mites will then eat their own waste, and once they refine it a second time, then it becomes toxic to humans.
Oh.
So even something innocuous like that.
I know it
You
was
have
an allergen. I didn't know.
Yeah,
it
well,
was...
okay, allergen, but
Okay.
All
right.
Here's the thing: you've got a space station with, that stuff's not getting out of the air. You're filtering the air somewhat, but
Yeah.
you're not. So it's some stuff that you really have to be careful about.
Okay.
So
that is a very cool graphic. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and not going to go into all of it, but they even go into who made what. Do they color code?
Kind of color coded, yeah.
Yeah, they color coded it. And there's also some interesting facts here too.
Nice.
International partnership of 5 space agencies from 15 countries.
15 countries, okay.
Yep. Operate the International Space Station. And by operate, I think they mean have ground support, because basically 5 countries built stuff. Well, built modules. I mean, I think the Canadians built one of the arms on it. I don't know if that's listed here.
Cliff made a good point. Can't get the spray or chemicals out of the recycled air. Got to be careful of buildup.
Yep.
It can get toxic.
Yeah, that's why anything that you do to get rid of the mold. So you kind of have to build these things as long-term disposables. I mean, because what else are you going to do? Like I said, unless you make it so that it's easy to clean.
Yeah.
And by clean, I mean wipe down and then get rid of the thing that you wiped it down with.
Yeah, they do have wipes there. Sunny was talking about some various the bathroom basically. And
right.
She talked about all the different options you had for because the Russian toilet paper is special. More exciting.
Yeah. So, so there are some interesting facts here. It's kind of nice. I kind of wished that they had talked more about what the various, and I'm going to kind of scroll a little bit faster, what the various bits are. So I went looking for it.
Okay.
So NASA's station assembly elements.
Cool.
Now this is a list where they list everything. Roll-out solar arrays. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So they were rolled up and then sent up, and
most of these solar arrays have some sort of a deployment. They're folded or rolled or something. Yeah. Cliff said the fumes is the problem.
Yeah. So they list everything. The trouble is that they're not really in order of any kind of order. So it is a good list, but it's kind of like this Bigelow module.
That was just a test.
Yeah, that was a test. But it was in 2016. This was in 2020. And so there's no real order to this.
Well, it might be a fun project to do some kind of which things happen when or
yeah. Oh, hang on. Then they get into this. This is a wiki for the assembly sequence.
Okay. So there
assembly of this is assembly of the International Space Station, and so this one talks about the assembly sequence. Again, they list things by name. They have pictures of them. But
you can click on those pictures,
right?
If it works the way most Wikipedia pages do.
Yeah, and so you can drill down on these. And so this is probably the best resources for everything that's on there, just because it's a complete list and you can drill down into them. However, I like this one better. This is spacecraft and vehicles. And since it's not a wiki, although, I'm going to grab the assembly of the space station because I like that one a lot. And even though it's a wiki and you can find it easily, I'm going to put that up there.
Nice.
But the one that I really like is this next one here by Spacecraft and Vehicles. And this is the first time I've seen this website. So I think there's going to be
me too.
Good stuff on here.
Good.
It's not, these aren't sharing with Facebook. So if you're
Does it say try again later?
Yeah.
I got one of those and it worked out okay,
Okay.
afterwards. So
Okay. Yeah. So,
we'll work on that, folks.
yeah. So if you're on Facebook, then, and you didn't see this link, see the link for the wiki, just try, go to YouTube. They'll have it. So the thing that I like about this is, well, they split it between pressurized and depressurized, which not my preference, but then they do go through them in order.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd kind of have to bounce between the two lists eventually to get them in true order. But the first module was the Russian Zarya, which means sunrise. And
they always have good names for their Russian vehicles.
Special sunshine nuclear bomb. Yes. I don't know. They have good names for things.
It's a module.
But,
no, I'm just talking about like Mir means peace.
Yeah.
And, like the Buran, which was very similar to our space station, was snow, something like that.
Yeah. Well,
so they're more poetic than ours.
Well, our first module was the Unity, which actually, it's a great sentiment, but also it has docking points on all of it. It's meant for everything a hub for things to dock to.
What does it have, like 6 points of put together? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think four for pressurized stuff and 2 mounting points for non-pressured, I think.
Okay.
But in any case, lots of mounting points. And then the Russian core, which is provides their living quarters and support systems. The first module was the power unit.
Okay.
It provides power and all kinds of power storage, propulsion. This is part of what they use to push it up into higher orbits.
And did I read it right that they didn't actually have any people for the first couple of years?
First 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they were just putting stuff together. They wanted to make sure it was safe before they.
Makes sense.
So the Russian core is the first part of their habitation.
Zvezda.
Yeah.
I love those Russian words.
And then Destiny module, which is a science.
Is that U.S.?
Yeah, U.S. Again, not habitation for the U.S. We just put figuring, I guess everyone would live in the Russian one for a while and do. Then the Quest joint airlock, because they had a problem. The U.S. and the Russian spacesuits
different
didn't fit in each other's airlocks.
Of course not.
They could only launch the Russian Orlan spacesuit out of their own transfer chamber, and ours couldn't even get out without the ISS. They had to get into the ISS, put on the suit, and then go out through the cargo bay of the ISS to do a walk. But this Quest joint airlock actually solved that issue.
Okay.
So now the Americans could, and it fit both spacesuits.
A lot of things happen like that, though. Yeah. You get there and you're like, oh,
yeah,
we didn't think about this.
Yeah. Well, the thought was we don't have to spacewalk unless the shuttle's there anyway, because that's when we're installing new modules. Well, you might need to do some work outside, science outside or whatever.
Oh, repairs.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of repairs going on.
Yeah. So
it's quite an old piece of equipment.
Yeah. In fact, we get into that a little bit later here. Okay, then the Russians did their first research thing. Then the U.S. Central Hub, which is the U.S. habitation module. Then, since we've got more people on there, we put up another life support module. So now there are 2 life support modules.
Yeah, I read it. It sleeps 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an RV.
Mm-hmm.
It sleeps 6.
Well, yeah. And then ESA put up a laboratory. And then Kibo, which is actually the biggest module there, the Russian or the Japanese laboratory is actually went up in 3 trips.
Oh, wow.
They had to, they merged them together in 3 trips. So, the cupola was, again, European Space Agency. Yes, European Space Agency gave us windows.
Finally gave them a window. But it points back to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to look the other way personally, but
Yeah.
Earth is very beautiful too, no question.
And then the Russians, another mini research module, because I think they couldn't launch as much mass as the space shuttle.
Okay.
So their pieces were smaller, so they have 2 labs instead of our 1, but then a storage module so that people could stay up longer. You could load more supplies onto it. And then Bigelow, just as a test, because Bigelow is very into inflatables.
Yeah.
So he did an inflatable module.
I think their ultimate goal is hotels in space.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I don't know if they're a going concern anymore. Do we?
They sort of are. We'll get into that a little bit but later on. Because
I think we talked about it in a few episodes ago, but I forget what the...
Yeah, so international docking adapters, basically so that you don't have to have the Russians attaching to the Russian section, the Americans attaching to the American section. They can attach somewhere.
That's why you shall meet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another airlock module. Another Russian lab module. Another docking hub. Basically, so that now we could have a U.S. and a Russian module at the same time on there, which they decided was safer.
You mean spaceship?
Yeah, spaceship.
Okay.
They thought that was safer because that way, if people need to get out of Dodge, they have 2 ways of getting down.
Yeah.
So
probably a good plan.
Yeah, because the Russian basically fits 3. Maybe 4 if they're really, really friendly and don't mind having in an emergency. Yes.
Yeah.
So then they get into the unpressurized, modules, robotic arms, Canadarm.
Canadarm, yeah.
The second one, because the first one was a space shuttle arm. So this was made for the space station. Apparently,
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So, and then, various other,
former and canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. Canceled ISS modules, things that basically we ran out of space shuttle before we could launch these.
I see.
And basically decided it was getting long in the tooth and no one wanted to put any more real money into it. So
got it. So is there like hardware hanging out somewhere?
I don't know.
Okay.
They might have just been in planning stages. They might have been. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, good.
Oh.
And then
Dexter?
Yeah.
I don't think I heard about that one.
As in dexterous.
Ah, okay.
Not as in the serial killer.
I know.
I
said it.
Unless if you guys are old enough, there was a series about a serial killer named Dexter. But
not that old.
Old enough to have been allowed to watch it. So next up, I think Dawn had.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because we were talking about deorbiting, to deorbit or not deorbit.
So let's see. You want to get that ready while I go over and. Yeah, Dawn sent me a link to a page on her website. You got it?
Yeah. Oh, I have to remove.
I know. It's weird.
There we go.
So they changed it, but yeah, and this is part of a larger page, which I have another tab for that. But and there was a lot of stuff I learned in here. Here was like International Space Station deorbit. Even the greatest space missions come to an end. So ISS has been orbiting since 1998, and it's going to go until 2030. They talk about its mass in pounds and kilograms, not counting visiting vehicles. It's living space for 6 people plus visitors, 2 bathrooms, a gym, multiple laboratories, and a 360-degree Earth-facing window. So, yeah, now they've talked about when it's going to go, but we don't know if that's actually going to be until 2030. I don't know if there's arguments for going sooner or later.
I know that Musk said something about deorbiting it in 27 or 28. You know, 2 to 3 years early.
Yeah.
You know, don't know. I think the main thing is that because he's building the deorbit vehicle, is that he thinks that he'll be ready by then.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But he also might think it's time for it to come down. But
yeah, I'm sure there's arguments in both directions for that. And it just goes on. But I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the whole page because I think it's a really, really beautiful page with all these great pictures. Thanks so much, Dawn, for sending this to me earlier today. I really appreciate that. And I think it's just wonderful. You've got these fun facts, first element, like Jeff was saying, some more statistics about it. This is a really, really great way to delve into this as well. New missions to ISS. Yeah, I talked about Sunny and Butch. Soyuz missions. I'll go ahead and grab the link to this too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I love the pictures. Yeah, Dawn puts a lot of effort into this whole website, and it really shows. Yeah, and it keeps going to other pages on the site and off as well. I think this one goes to a NASA site. Yeah. Well, that's the one you were showing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Is it
a little different. A little different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
So I think this is a terrific resource. I don't want to give it all away. I think you're going to want to come and find out for yourself. Yeah. So.
And Janie says, "Thanks, Dawn. Very nice."
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with any luck, that will be a clickable link as soon as I put it there. And those look like they're going okay. Yep. All right. So let's see. How do we do this?
Oh,
I gotta remove you. Yeah. Remove mine.
And add me.
Wow.
Okay.
We'll get used to it. We'll adapt.
So there's another article here, a NASA fact, and they're talking about the transition plan. Now, transitioning, that's usually a now PC word for dying. But hey.
Oh.
But basically they're talking about it's been more than 23 years of continuous human presence aboard
yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's quite the feat of engineering.
Yeah. But the technical lifetime of the station is limited by the primary structure, which includes the modules, radiators, and truss structures. And the lifetime of the primary structure is affected by dynamic loading, basically how much things move against each other, such as the spacecraft dockings and undockings, orbital thermal cycling, even just the sun warming part of it, and then that part getting out of the sun and cooling again.
Yeah, that could be the orbit.
Yeah.
Just the orbit.
Yeah. And just the expansion and contraction from that. And, boosting it to higher orbits, all put stress on it. And it gets to a point where it becomes less and less safe, because the chance of something bad happening goes up from the, because NASA likes the chance of something bad happening to have lots of zeros and then a number.
Oh no, it's no failures. No failures allowed, basically.
Well, but basically the percentage chance of it happening has to be like very minuscule. And as time goes on, some of those zeros after the point go away. And so it becomes, the chance of something bad happening comes greater and greater.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, I think it was last week, right? With Sunny and Butch. They basically stayed to help with maintenance. I think
Yeah.
I think that was a lot of it was.
Yeah, I think the
Maybe
maintenance is
people-
going up as it goes on. And we
Makes
already,
sense.
and they don't talk about it in this article, I guess because it's NASA and they don't like to talk about the nasty things. But, also it becomes less habitable just because of molds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And other things that end up in the air. And just because every time you go up, stuff comes up with you.
Oh yeah, and anything that's not tethered down is going to be floating around, like everything. So.
Right. Yeah, and just the moisture from people's breath. They have to dehumidify the air a lot, and it's a balancing act because if you get it too dry, people have trouble. So they have to keep. It's actually, from what I've heard, it's actually considered dry air. So it'd be like being in desert air all the time, or air conditioner air. It's kind of dry like that, and that's on purpose to try to reduce the amount of mold. It's just not 100%. But hey, it's been 23 years. When they splashed down Skylab, apparently it was just basically really bad. In Mir, there was mold, visible mold on any surfaces that wasn't in camera range.
Gosh, I didn't know anything about that. Okay.
Yeah, so it was just it gets bad. You can clean, but you can only clean the places that you can easily get at.
Okay.
But so why did
which might be an interesting problem to solve? And for example, I'm in my family home. I remember we put in these things called Pella windows, and they would basically lever out so you could clean the outside from in the house, and then. So anyway, Dawn's got a comment.
Yeah, that doesn't work well on the space station.
Well, but if you had panels that could, yeah, I know. They also put new solar arrays on the station. I think 22-24 time frame. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
They did. And the reason is because solar panels degrade. The same sunlight that they use for power, actually, whatever doesn't go into power actually bounces around in it and does cause damage over time. So solar panels lose their ability to create electricity over time.
Okay.
So
yeah, I didn't know that. So Cliff says, I was thinking about the other thing we all do. That's smelly. Yes, and I think she talks about that in that video.
Yeah.
Janie says, surprising they don't have butch haircuts. Hair releases a lot. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are for that. But
yeah, well, I noticed when I saw the Russians, they were all really, and a lot of the men have their hair. I think you either want to go really long or shaved off completely. Because really long hairs, that's easy to find. You won't breathe that in. It's like you'll see it floating around, you'll see it attached to something, and you can clean it up. If you have, if you've got a butch haircut and the hairs are only like a centimeter, if it's a blonde hair, you won't see it. You could breathe it. It could end up in your, yeah, that'd be bad news.
Yeah, and Dawn says the newer panels are also more effective. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think types of haircut too can be a little easier to, like if you have a very close cropped, they just get, and it's a vacuum kind of arrangement, and they just buzz it off, and the vacuum cleans it all up basically.
Right. But the last thing you want to do is do something and snip, 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 because all of that hair goes somewhere, which is why I think Sunny's hair was so long, because she didn't want to shave her head, and the other option is cutting it and hoping you get all of that hair. And so that's, I don't think a viable solution. So I guess you either shave your head or you live with however much hair you end up with.
No beauty salon there yet.
Yeah.
Someday we'll have that out in space. Someday we'll have everything out in space. Yay.
It could be back to those, those hair dryers that used to fit over people's heads. You have those with a suction on them. So you cut and it sucks so much that your cheeks are going like that.
Okay. What else you got for us, Jeff?
Okay. On the transition plan, there's a lot of stuff on here I wanted to cover. Why did NASA decide to deorbit the space station instead of alternative options? Because the alternatives are worse, essentially. That's the essential. Disassembly and return to Earth. how without a space shuttle to put it in,
Yeah.
how do you put some of those modules in something to bring it to Earth? I mean, and they're delicate enough that they would never survive the trip, for one thing. But also, we don't have anything to put them in.
Mm.
Now, they do have a plan to grab things, small things that they can grab and go, because they want, apparently, NASA has engaged with the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum and other organizations to develop a preservation plan for some smaller items. Essentially, museums want their space loot.
Okay.
So I think before they deorbit it, they're going to loot, they're going to loot the space station.
Yeah.
Then they'll pillage.
Yeah, I can see them pulling things that are either important or significant or have some kind of something attached to them.
Yeah.
Some meaning.
Yeah. So disassembly and return to Earth, well, they're going to do some of that, but most of it just can't do. Also,
there's too much there now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been built up over decades. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The assembly required 27 space shuttle flights, plus a bunch of Russian flights. And the Russian vehicles aren't meant to come back. So
did the Japanese go on the U.S. the shuttle?
Probably some of them might have gone on, on the.
Oh, there you go, to the highest bidder.
Yeah,
that's an interesting idea. If you can get there and you can salvage it,
yeah,
it's yours.
Well, the trouble is, remember that the atmosphere is continuous. So to do nothing means that it deorbits uncontrolled randomly, which means that
no good.
Yeah. So
because you don't know where it would go. You don't know where it would come down, where it would be.
So since the main thing that is decreasing, one of the things that's decreasing the lifespan, aside from just the mechanical wear, is the atmospheric drag. Because if we don't keep boosting it, so it can't be unmanned, you'd have to keep boosting it up. So what if we boost it higher? Then
sounds like an option.
Yeah, except that you could do it, but getting to and from it would be very expensive. We talked about that before the show. I don't think we talked about it during the show. But you could put it up like in Hubble's orbit, because the space shuttle can get to Hubble, but they really, really did not like doing that because it used so much fuel that it left very little margin. NASA likes having a lot of margin. They like having a lot of fuel to play with just in case. And
I can understand that.
For the Hubble maintenance mission, they used up most of their just in case. So they didn't like that. And they don't want that to be the plan.
Well, I mean, think about it on the road with your car. You might not want to get stuck on the side of the road with no gas and have to wait for, and in the case of, out in space, there's no waiting. There's nothing's coming to, there's no tow trucks to come and help you.
Right. Yeah. And, okay, if you're foolish enough to use up all your fuel, then you're stuck there until you asphyxiate. Or you use it up on the way back and, your slowing becomes a lot more warm.
So there's good reasons to want to have a cushion of.
Yeah. So, they talk a lot about higher orbit, the few good things about it, but also higher orbit has more orbital debris. Because if you're tucked in next to near the atmosphere drags a bunch of it out.
Yep.
So that's half of your entire 360 of where things could come at you. It'd have to come through the atmosphere, which means that it's not coming, it's shielding you. You're up higher and things can come at you from different directions. And there's more stuff there because it doesn't get swept out by the atmosphere. So,
that and the sun can push things around. So,
yeah. Oh, there you go. Done.
It gets boosted by the Soyuz and Dragon vehicles. I think the Soyuz also delivers fuel for the engines on the station.
Yeah,
That
the
makes
station
sense.
can do some minor boosting, but mostly it's attitude adjustment
Mm.
because things like the drag and the solar winds will kind of make it, go off center and stuff like that. So the most of the station's engines are designed to keep it where it needs to be.
Okay.
But so what if you don't deorbit it or don't boost it? Well, then you get random. And
Okay.
the U.S. government specifies that a re-entry spacecraft must meet or exceed a 1 in 10,000 likelihood of public risk due to debris.
1 in 10,000. That's it. Wow.
Yeah. So there has to be an only 1 in 10,000 chance that someone will be affected. Now, this doesn't mean hit by debris. It means property damage. It means, so
Okay.
1 in 10,000 chance that something will land in someone's backyard. And if it comes in randomly, it might come in over a city. That's a lot of people's backyards.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. If they put it over the water, then there's a chance that it'll hit a boat. But it's so remote because ocean's big. A boat's small. And they say, hey, we're dropping something here. Don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you get hit, you selected yourself. That's fine. I mean, that's the average human intelligence will go up by a small fraction. So, how will they deorbit it? Basically Elon's making a deorbiter for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was reading about that earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn too much, but I did read about it a little bit.
Will parts of the space station burn up? Yes. Most of the modules, because here's the thing, and this is why it has a mechanical lifespan. It's not very strong. The whole thing is not very strong because any strength that they put in it is weight that they had to lift.
Yeah.
So
it didn't need to be strong for space.
Right. And I think they
Once it was up there.
I think they purposely built it to be weak enough to shred and burn up.
Okay.
It's kind of like they're basically putting soda cans up in space.
Okay.
Is essentially it.
That's an interesting visual. Thank you.
While it's pressurized, a soda can is pretty strong.
Right.
You take the soda out and and a child can crush it.
Or even just open it.
Yeah. So, that's probably their plan. They'll probably, open it up to vacuum and drop it. Now, they might drop different pieces at different times. I don't know. But
Boy, they'd have a hard time. Well, I guess once you're dropping it, it's.
But I don't see a really good. That just makes the debris field bigger, I think.
Yeah.
So you're better off just dropping it in the middle of the Pacific because there's less stuff there.
Yeah, there's a spot in this Pacific where the closest any kind of civilization is the space station.
Yes, the space station.
It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, there's a spot in the Pacific where space station, when it's overhead, is the closest or the closest humans to anyone to that spot. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, space is pretty close. It's 60 miles and more, but that's think of driving 60 miles from here to wherever you're going, and it's not that big a deal.
I would drive more than that going to my mom's old house in Fullerton.
Yeah. The trouble becomes when you have to fight against gravity. The gravity well here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is that what it's called? Pitcairn Island.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's no land on the planet when you look at that.
Right.
From that perspective.
Because the land is small enough that you can't see it, and which means that there's more chance of, Pacific. If they're early, Cliff, get a steel umbrella. If they're late, it's guess it's coming toward us here in California. But, but the Pacific's big. Chances of it not.
Well, and they calculate all that stuff out.
Right.
So,
but the old Skylab, they actually kind of missed.
Oh. Because
entering the atmosphere is actually difficult to do
Mm,
because you can, if you hit it too shallow of an angle, you skip off it,
right.
then come back down again, but you don't come down where you want it to be.
Mm,
So you kind of have to, it takes skill and experience, and hopefully they learn something from various deorbits that they can. But remember, the ISS is really a really messy vehicle.
yeah.
So some of those struts are going to hit first, then it starts tumbling,
Mm,
then things go all over the place, which is why you aim for the middle, because it's going to be a pretty big footprint, and it's going to be a long, it's going to be a footprint kind of like that, although probably more like that, more teardrop shaped,
yeah.
a stretched teardrop.
Got it. Okay.
But it's going to be a pretty good. So
You got more on that page?
not this page, but let's come back here.
Okay.
Why doesn't NASA plan to repurpose parts of it? Again, they're meant to work together, and
Mm.
I guess if you want a part of it, go up and get it. I don't see a viable. Oh, hey, Daniel.
Hey, Dan. Welcome. Glad you're here. I wish they would put the ISS at one of the Lagrange gravitational liberation points, L1, L5. Somehow it's historic and has cool surplus.
Yeah, that'd be really expensive fuel-wise. I mean, it would take several Dragon missions to give it enough fuel to do that.
Can it hold that much fuel? I don't know.
No, and every time you go up higher to get to it, you'd have to use a lot of that fuel getting to it just to give it the fuel to, yes, it's probably possible, but you run into the rocket equation, and it just becomes very, you're spending 99.99% of the fuel getting to it. Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
Janie has.
Oh.
Those are the
British territory. Okay.
Yeah.
Pitcairn? Yeah. Henderson, Ducey, Aero Islands.
Oreo. No, it's spelled differently.
That's neat. Thank you, Janie.
Yeah.
All right. You don't want to hit those either.
No, but we could always just say.
And are there people there?
Suck it up, Brit. Suck it up, England.
Oh boy.
But okay,
More?
yeah. Just oops, hang on. Let me get this all the way up.
Okay.
If I read through it. Okay, and one of the things was what comes after.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I showed this page before, and I did some looking to see there are 9 space stations. Now, one of them is the Chinese space station, which it's already up there, although that looks like they plan on expanding it. Axiom space station from the U.S.
Janie says that Pitcairn is the only one that's inhabited. I missed this one. Sorry, Cliff. Sorry, Cliff. Souvenir hunters would be out there looking for bits.
Yep.
That seems likely.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go, though.
Yeah. So Orbital Reef, Blue Origin. And, I've started looking into these to see how many of them are still viable. Because this is from, let me just find it. This was written July 8th, 2024.
Oh, so not that long ago.
Not too long ago. But in fact, I think that's when I first saw it and thought, hey, this would make a good episode. Just do a deep dive on all of these. And I think that's what I'll do, is that I'll save this for another episode.
Okay.
And just do a deep dive on them. Just know that not all of those are actually viable still.
Okay.
Although Bigelow seems to have resurrected itself by doing just the bare minimum to continue on getting funding. But I think I'm going to look at all 9 of those, although I don't know how much I can actually learn about the Chinese one.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it'd make a great episode. Well, thanks so much for that. I mean, what we've learned so far is just terrific. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you about some stellar events this week. And we're talking March 28th tonight through April 4th. And the Globe at Night project continues. It's going to go through March the 30th. There's always a 10-day span. The Northern Hemisphere, you have two options, either Orion or Leo. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're looking for Crux. And it's really simple. You've got a nice website or on your phone. You can go out, take a look at what's going on, and they have some things to pick. You basically report in from your location and tell them what you see. It's a light pollution citizen science project, and I think it's a real terrific program. So March 28th, remember that's that big day for astronomy. The moon is on the equator and at a sunning node. Mercury and the moon are in conjunction. Venus and the moon are in conjunction. Saturn and the moon are in conjunction. Neptune and the moon are in conjunction.
Yes, tonight is the night of the planetary orgy.
Yeah, planetary party. I wrote party, and I think we missed them by now because they're very low in the west. I think is. JD's got a comment too.
Yeah, so that's good information. Yeah, thank you, Janie.
We do too.
Yep.
It's terrific doing this
Yeah,
stuff.
we learn a lot in preparation for
Absolutely. March 29th is the new moon. That's basically going to be tomorrow morning for parts of the world. It's a partial eclipse of the sun. So I'm going to read just a little bit from my Farmer's Almanac about that. And there's another source I saw, but I couldn't put my fingers on it right before the show. So, I see. This eclipse is visible from northeastern North America, although it will be difficult to observe in the U.S. without an unobstructed view of the horizon. The sun will rise at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Time in Boston, but when the eclipse ends at 7:07 Eastern Time, it will be only about 6 degrees above the horizon. Observers in some areas of eastern Canada, including Newfoundland and Labrador, will have a better view of the eclipse. As with all partial eclipses, this event is safe to observe only when using proper eye protection such as eclipse glasses. Please protect your eyes if you go looking for that.
Yeah, my mom had permanent burn spots in her vision from looking at an eclipse. Yeah,
didn't know that. Mars is 3.9 degrees south of Pollux. March 30th, the moon is at perigee, and Venus and Saturn are in conjunction. Also, Ramadan ends. April 1st, we consider All Fool's Day or April Fool's, and Uranus and the moon are in conjunction. Also, Pleiades is 0.6 degrees south of the moon. Seems like there might be an occultation for that.
Yeah, not always, but yeah.
Yeah, they didn't say anything, right? Okay. April 2nd, Jupiter and the moon are in conjunction. In fact, Jupiter is 5.5 degrees south of the moon. April 3rd, the moon rides high. April 4th is the first quarter moon, and it's also our Friday night show. We're going to demonstrate something we do sometimes. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. What inspires you the most for the coming week? I saw the comment.
Yeah, Dawn.
Yeah.
Sorry. Says, great episode. Love these deep dives. Yeah, so do we.
Yep, very good stuff. And we learn a lot all the time. So there it is.
So if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, April 4th. Sometimes we do something spontaneous. We visit a search engine, put in space exploration, choose news, and see what we get. We thought we'd roll the dice this week and see what shows up. There are plenty of places out there for news. I don't know of any others that show you how to participate in space exploration, but we'll show you, we'll just show you space news that we find next week and just see what we get.
Yeah, we don't really do that much news, but it'll be kind of a demonstration, and also we'll pick up some new stuff. Should we do a shout out?
Sure.
We had Janie and Dawn and Cliff and Daniel
And Scott.
Scott was here. I also remember Naomi.
Naomi, yep.
Naomi was here.
Let's see,
Fabulous.
anyone else? We got Cliff, right?
Oh, Cliff, yeah.
Cliff
was here. Cliff's always here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's always a better show when you attend and help us with all these great pieces of information. I see you looking up stuff out there. Oh, thanks, Cliff. Do you show it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Stay
I
safe, man.
hope you get some dry.
That's just.
I mean, we've had some misting rain here, but nothing like you guys. We could use some more of that, because even though all of our reservoirs are full, we're still in drought.
Oh, thank you, Naomi.
Oh yeah.
Have a great you as well. Have a great week.
Yep.
All right. Anything else from you?
Nope.
We will continue to look for your comments as well, and I'm good. So.
Yep.
See you later, folks.
Good night, folks.
There it is.